let us enter into worship with the words of Leslie Takahashi. To worship means to consider that which has worth. Today we consider with gratitude the many gifts of this community. The opportunity to be affirmed in who we are and how to offer that affirmation to others. The chance to stand up together to help remake the world in the ideal of justice. The freedom to choose one's own path to truth and learn from the travelogues of others. The space to expand one's own spirit and reconnect after busy or humdrum weeks with the sustaining truth of one's life. Regular reminders that we must see our world through the lens of love. And the aspiration to consider all life as precious, for if all is made of stardust, how can it not be wondrous? So, this morning, let's welcome all of these gifts with gratitude, for they have been paid for with many currencies. The blood of martyrs who died so that we can be free in our religion. The sweat of those who persisted in justice's name against hostility and adversity. The tears of those who struggled to build better lives for those in this life. The questions our children asked as they understand the world anew and offer their understanding to use as a fresh lens. The laughter and joy of those giddy with the embrace of community. The dollars and cents of those who gave what they could and then stretched a little more. The infinite small acts of service that make the parts greater than the whole, done by those who knew themselves in sympathy with our purposes. So today, we consider with gratitude and humility what it means to pay forward what has been paid forward to us. And now, with all of this, let us enter into worship with gladness in our hearts. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join our voices together in our opening hymn, number 347 in the gray hymnal, Gather the Spirit.
Standing as I invite some of the founders of Channing Memorial Church to light our chalice. This morning they are represented by Rebecca Burney, Evelyn Grimm, Ken Grimm, Maureen Hayes, Ken Kalamuck, and Jim Vincent. And Ron Meservey is with us in spirit. Our words of inspiration are based on the words of Rachel Hayes. We light our chalice this morning with our hearts turned to the work of our congregation. We have inherited this institution from our founders, bold and generous leaders who believed in the power of human beings to bear love into the world. We are blessed to have their continuing guidance today. We carry this tradition for those who find comfort, inspiration, and joy within its real and virtual spaces. We tend the spark of imagination and hope for the world to come.
Okay. I now invite the children forward for our time for all ages. If you'd like.
Yeah. You want to bring this around? Okay, come on, I'll help you out.
Good morning. I love your picture. All right, everyone. We're going to hear together this morning a traditional folktale called Stone Soup. Once upon a time, there was a wise old man who decided to go on a journey. So he packed a small bag, said goodbye to his wife, and set off. He traveled all day without meeting anyone. When it was evening, he came to a small village. I think I'll stop here for the night, he said to himself. Near the center of the village, he met a group of people. So he introduced himself. I'm a simpler traveler, he said, looking for a safe place to sleep and a hot meal. We'll be glad to offer you a place to sleep, the villagers told him, but we have very little food. Our crops were very poor this year, and there's not much to eat in the whole village. Most of us are just barely getting by. I'm sorry to hear that, the old man said, but you needn't worry about feeding me. I already have everything I need. In fact, I was thinking of making some stone soup to share with all of you. Stone soup, the villagers asked. What's that? I've never heard of stone soup. Oh, it's wonderful, said the old man. Best soup I've ever tasted. If you bring me a pot and some water, I'll make some for all of us. And so the villagers rushed back to their homes. When they returned, one was carrying a large soup pot, another had wood for a fire, and others brought water. When the fire was going and the water had begun to boil, the old man took out a small silk pouch. With great ceremony, he reached in and pulled out a small, round stone. He carefully dropped the stone into the boiling water. The villagers watched eagerly. The old man began to slowly stir the pot, sniffing the aroma and licking his lips in anticipation. I do like a tasty stone soup, he said to himself. Of course, stone soup with cabbage? Now that's really special. I might have a bit of cabbage, one villager said, and she went off to her house, returning with a small cabbage she had stored away in her pantry. Wonderful, said the old man as he added the cabbage to the pot. This reminds me of a time when I had stone soup with cabbage and a little bit of potato. And it was very good. After a moment of silence, the village grocer spoke up. I know where there's a few potatoes, he said, and he went off to get them. When he returned, the old man added the potato to the soup pot and continued to stir. Can you imagine what this soup would taste like if we had a bit of onion and perhaps a few carrots and some mushrooms? Oh, this would be fit for royalty. And before he knew it, the soup pot was filled to the brim with vegetables of all kinds, carrots and potatoes, mushrooms and onions, turnips and green beans, beets and celery, all brought by the people of the village. Not only that, but the village baker came out with some fresh bread and butter. And as the soup simmered slowly over the fire, the wonderful aroma began to waft over the villagers. And they began to relax and talk together, sharing songs and stories and jokes. When the soup was finally done, the old man ladled it into bowls, and they all shared a delicious meal together. There was more than enough for everyone to eat their fill. Afterward, they all declared it was the best soup they had ever had. The mayor of the village pulled the old man aside and quietly offered him a great deal of money for the magic stone, but the old man refused to sell it. The next morning, he woke early and packed up his belongings. As he was leaving the village, he passed a group of children playing at the side of the road. He handed the youngest one the silk pouch containing the stone and whispered, "It was not the stone that performed the magic. It was all of us together." So I love the generosity highlighted in this story. Look what they all created together. And I wonder what we can create if we each bring those things we have, those things that are special to us, to our church community. Yes?
I do a lava pit.
You do a lava pit?
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful picture. We never had a lava pit before, no. A picture? Well, it's beautiful. Thank you. Thanks for listening to the story. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening. All right. And with that, I'm going to invite Dan Malone forward to help with our stewardship moment.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dan Vallone, and I am the chair of the Stewardship Committee. And welcome to Stewardship Sunday. In March, we pledge our support for our church. Our commitments sustain our church financially throughout the year. Very soon, I believe today, the Canvas packet will be sent to everyone. This packet will help you find the exact right amount for you to pledge. This year, we're submitting our pledges together in 3 groups. The first group will be the Stewardship Committee itself. We will hand in our pledges today. The second group will be the Board of Directors. They will hand in their pledges next Sunday. March 19th will be Pearl Sunday, in honor of our 30th anniversary. That is the day when everyone else will hand in their pledges. And now, the Stewardship Committee presents a skit by Cathy and Cathy. The hat? Oh, last night I was in an auction event. It was Murder on the Round Table, and I was the Green Knight, and so this hat signifies the awesome power of the Green Knight. But why am I wearing it today? It's just one of the perks of being the stewardship chair.
Hey, Cathy, you busy?
Not at all. What's up?
Oh, I don't know. It's March, I guess.
Right. Isn't that Canvas month at Channing?
Yeah. I don't know. Just not feeling the energy this year.
Yikes. So that new minister isn't working out?
Are you kidding? Reverend Jane is fantastic. She's so warm and caring, and she's been doing some great services.
Yeah, but it must be hard without decent music. A lot of churches are relying on recorded music these days.
What? No, Stephen is the best. But he did amazing services over Zoom. The music has been unbelievable. And he has Stuart helping with video production, so they're putting our services on YouTube.
Oh, that sounds good. But you've been looking for worship space for so long. That must be really discouraging.
I didn't tell you? We found this great little church in Ellicott City, and we rented from them last month. It looks really promising for the future. It's amazing how everything's just coming together.
Wow, that sounds great. So what's the problem?
No problem here. Gotta go. I'm gonna go look for a new recipe for Snack Squad. I'm thinking chocolate cookies. You coming to church on Sunday?
Can't wait. And I'm going to increase my pledge this year. What are the details again?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Gibson. Can you hear me? Oh. Okay. Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. When I was first asked to present the testimonial today, I tried to remember when I first started attending Channing Memorial. I realized it was about this time last year because several congregants were putting on these wonderfully charming and creative skits about the pledge campaign, like we just saw. I have been a member of 2 other UU churches, and I have never experienced such an entertaining pledge drive. I was and am impressed. When I returned to this area about 4 years ago, I started to explore several UU churches in the area. They all had their own appeal. They were larger than Channing. They had a variety of offerings. Some of them had amazing choirs, and all of them had their own physical building. But gradually I became drawn to Channing. The small size of the congregation makes it more accessible to me and makes getting to know all of you much easier. I have also come to appreciate Reverend Jane's sermons. When I first started attending services and listened to her messages, I realized I was feeling more compassion towards people, feeling more positive, and hopefully becoming less cynical as well. The care and concern given to me while going through some personal hardships in the past several months was and is very meaningful to me. I hope to continue my journey with Channing, and I hope in turn I can contribute in meaningful ways to this church. And as a last-minute addendum to this, yesterday Reverend Jane invited me to become a member of this church, and I gladly said yes.
Thank you, Lisa, Dan, Cathy, and Cathy. As Lisa said, I love the energy of the church, especially around stewardship. It's so much fun, and I just look forward to carrying all of this with us in the month ahead. Right now, in this moment, let's take a moment to kick off our season of giving. I invite the Stewardship Committee to come forward and offer their pledges. For all that you give, each and every one of you, I am grateful. It's Halloween. Thank you all. And now if you could please remain seated for our prayer hymn, number 95 in the gray hymnal, There Is More Love Somewhere. the silence that follows the spoken prayer, you are invited to come forward and light a candle for any joys or concerns that you hold in your heart this morning. Spirit of love and life, may we in this moment, in each of our moments, be centered in love. A love that guides us, that comforts us, that sustains us, that nourishes us. Our companion, a force that gives us life. May we be filled with the love of our faith's predecessors, our forebears, the ancestors of our tradition who claimed the love found in a forgiving God, who proclaimed the love that illuminates the inherent goodness in people, the inherent goodness in the sacred. Love, a guiding light. Just when the weight of the world feels too hard to bear, just when our hearts feel they can no longer beat, may we find the love that encourages us to rest, heal, and carry on. In this moment, may we be grateful for the voices raised in song, the prayers offered through candles illuminated. May we cherish the tenets of our faith, the depth of our spirituality. May we cherish our fellow travelers on this journey of life, giving thanks for companionship. May we be grateful for the faith that grounds us in our quest for truth and meaning. May we be grateful for all of that which brings us joy. The nature beyond these walls, the smiles of those in our midst, the piano notes drifting to our ears, each a gift to be celebrated. In this moment, may we practice generosity. May we know that in giving, we receive in abundance, that in sharing what we have, we gain simple joy and delight in our very beings. May we know the love kindled as we share the most tender pieces of ourselves. That in sharing what we have, we help heal an aching world. That in tending to the souls of others, we care for our own hearts and beings. May we know the joy and meaning found in giving back to that which gives us so much in return. May we know love. May we know gratitude. May we know generosity. Spirit of love and life, in this spirit we pray. We hold all of these things in our hearts as we rest in the silence. I now light a final candle for all else that remains in our hearts and on our minds this morning. If your heart is hurting, know that your community is here to help, as am I. Please reach out with any needs.
A Tangible Commitment by Elizabeth Murphy. Channing Memorial Church leaders, both volunteers and staff members, work diligently throughout the year to be careful and attentive stewards of the congregation and its funds. Countless meetings, reports, documents, and budgets are necessary to maintain the health of an organization, especially one that has endured for 30 years. We depend on our tools and on our teams to track where every dollar goes, and they do just that. But the gifts you make to our weekly offering or through your annual pledge represent far more than lines on a spreadsheet. Your contributions are a tangible commitment to the mission and vision of Channing Memorial Church. Each time you give, you renew this commitment, and as a result, your support is entwined with all that we believe and all that we do here together. This is its own special gift. In this spirit of trust and generosity, we gratefully accept the offering. For those of you watching the service online, you may contribute to a virtual offering plate using the donate button on our website or by mailing a check to the church office. Will the ushers please come forward? For all that you give and all that you do for our church community and its wider concerns, we give thanks. Sustaining the Tree of Life, a tale by Lynn Gardner. The tree stood in the middle of the village. Its trunk was so large that it took 6 people holding hands to reach around it. The roots were strong and wide, and its branches spread out all over the village square, offering shelter from the rain or shade from the summer sun. Its fruit was juicy, sweet, and plentiful. The people of the village loved the tree. Children played beneath it and climbed its lowest branches. Young people knew that if you whispered your dreams to the tree, they were more likely to come true. People who proclaimed their love or friendship for one another beneath its branches found their relationships to be nourishing. And elders discovered that their sweetest memories could be counted on when they were near the great tree. The tree had been witness to so much, and when the breezes blew through the leaves, one could hear echoes of generations, laughter, conversations, dreams, prayers, and songs. Animals loved the tree too. Rabbits lived in burrows under the roots. Squirrels and monkeys lived in the branches, and bats and birds flew in to eat the abundant fruit. The tree seemed to buzz with life. One day, a traveling merchant arrived in the village. He rested in the shade and ate 2 pieces of delicious fruit. "This fruit is incredible," he said. "I would like to have some to sell in the next villages that I visit. Who owns this tree?" "No one owns this tree," replied a villager. "If anything, we belong to it." "Well then, if no one owns the tree, then no one will mind if I pick the fruit," said the merchant, and began to fill a basket. "I mind," said the villager, "and today I am the keeper of the tree." "What do you mean, keeper of the tree?" "We each take our turn being here with the tree. We could never own it. We are here as protectors, as sustainers. That's ridiculous. This tree doesn't need you. You could just take what you need. Take what you want. The tree will continue. But the villager couldn't be persuaded. Sir, this tree isn't like that. We don't come here to take from it, even though we receive much. We are keepers of the tree because this is where we are nourished. This is where some of our most precious memories are and where our people have dreamed. This is where we remember who we want to become. Well, said the merchant, you may think this tree is very special, but it still doesn't need you to sit with it. That is preposterous. Ah, replied the villager, the tree itself may not need me, but what of others who come by? Just this morning I sat with a woman whose heart was heavy with worry. Had I not been here, she would have had to carry that weight alone. And this afternoon, a tired couple came by, and they rested with me. They said they had been looking for a place like this. And then an elder came by, and we watched the birds and the branches together. And now you are here. You were confused about what this tree is and how to be with it. Imagine if you had arrived and not found anyone here to talk with you. You might have continued thinking that everything you do is all about you. Luckily for you, my friend, I am here to let you know that when you care for the tree of life, it becomes about so much more than just you. And the merchant sat for a while in the shade, thinking about these ideas that felt new and a little challenging. As the sun went down, he picked up his bag and headed out of town, whistling a song that he hadn't thought of in years. On his way, he shared a smile with each person he met, his heart feeling strangely light and joyful. And the people of the village? They continued to sustain the tree of life, to care for one another and to share their gifts with grace and gratitude. May it be so for each of us. Please rise in body or spirit to join our voices in hymn number 1007 in the Teal hymnal, There's a River Flowing in My Soul.
The thick, sturdy, beautiful, sustaining tree of life stretched its branches to the sky, surrounded by the villagers who sought to nurture it. This tree was where the children played, where youth whispered dreams that became reality, where villagers came to proclaim their love for one another and elders recounted sweet memories. The villagers were keepers of the tree, guarding and appreciating the tree's abundance and goodness and all it had to offer. The narrative recounts, "We are keepers of the tree because this is where we are nourished. This is where we remember who we want to become." Can each one of us here in this space made holy by our prayers and meditations relate to this statement in this moment? As you sit in your wooden pews with hymnal in hand, I invite you to pause and meditate on this phrase. This is where we remember who we want to become. In the tale of this tree made sacred, we see the protagonist immersed in a community dedicated to offering love for this life-giving tree, love that they intentionally spread to friends and strangers alike. We observe a community imbued in gratitude for all the sustenance the tree provided and who, in turn, generously protected and nourished the tree which offered them so much. 3 spiritual practices are illuminated in this story, concentric circles rippling out, love leading to gratitude, paving the way for lives immersed in generosity. What about the story of stone soup? It was not the stone that performed the magic, the old man whispered. It was all of us together. While not as direct in proclaiming their love of the villagers, we can assume in their celebratory nature and their joyful communal meal that this was a community of love. And we can observe in their gracious reaction to the soup that they were grateful for this offering of sustenance and nourishment. And yet what the story clearly articulates is a tale of generosity. All they needed was a simple reminder, an invitation, and this community steeped in love and gratitude came together in acts of generosity that sustained the whole. One humble offering at a time, they created something nourishing and life-giving. I wonder, in exchange for offering cabbage, as the villagers did, can we offer our community hope? Instead of offering nourishing carrots, can we bring to one another wisdom? Instead of bits of potatoes, can we bring the monetary means that keep any community thriving? May we love, may we be grateful, and may we generously share all that we have, or all that we can. I offer you a third story, a story of heretics and lovers of divinity and forgiveness. This is the story of our own radical faith, of the universalists who countered the tenets of Calvinism, arguing against the belief of predestination, instead espousing the belief of universal salvation, offering a God who did not damn, but who forgave. Or the Unitarians, who proclaimed that Jesus was not divine but fully human, a secular prophet whose love, simple yet profound, changed the world. The Unitarians, who articulated that humans were not birthed into this world as inherently sinful, but as inherently good and worthy. This is the story of our faith, one steeped in love, both sacred and profane. A faith that calls us to let love guide us in each of our days. A story, a life giving to each body and soul in this room. I am grateful. Are you? Or the tale of our own church, a subset of this faith, a sacred community intentionally created for spiritual seekers to grow in their faith, to grow in their spirituality, no matter what their theology or belief of the sacred, a community where we can all join together on the search for faith, truth, and meaning. I am grateful. Are you? Our faith is that tree of life we are called to nourish and share with friends and strangers alike. Our church is the stone which calls each of us to offer all we can so that our community can be nourished and share in communal joy and meaning-making. In each of these narratives, we have articulated 3 spiritual practices, that of loving, that of offering gratitude, and that of practicing generosity. In implementing these sacred acts, we better our own lives and the lives of those around us. We construct a foundation of faithful, meaningful living. So, our first spiritual practice, love. We spent all of last month exploring the theme of love, and this culminates today as we explore another facet of love, a love of the community. What does it mean to love a community? Or simultaneously, what does it mean to be a part of a community grounded in love? Loving a community goes a step beyond self-love and the love of the individual, and instead becomes a love of the whole. This is a love of the overarching values espoused by the group for the all-encompassing purpose that grounds and sustains that specific community, for their outlook on life, and in the case of spiritual communities, their relationship with the sacred, and the guidance they offer towards a spiritually fulfilled life. In practicing this love of community, we garner guidance in orienting ourselves in the world. We find ways to heal our wounded hearts. Do we pray? Do we forgive? We find ways to practice and embody love and spirituality. Do we meditate? Do we sing? We find ways to journey together on this path of life and cultivate resources for support. This is a love of support groups, of 12-step groups, of friends, of colleagues. This is a love of our own community, Channing Memorial Church. May we be grounded in the love of community. So let us explore our second spiritual practice, gratitude, and I offer you a short anecdote. Nearly every weekend, my husband and I make the journey together to remote parks where we can hike through the towering trees and humble ground cover alike. I often fall into a trap while walking amongst the scurrying, soaring wildlife, unintentionally losing myself in my own thoughts and anxieties. Luckily, I am accompanied by my beloved husband who does not fall into these traps. Right, Eric? But spends each moment intentionally engaging with all of the beauty and awe that surrounds him. We are on the same hike with, at times, vastly different experiences, but he serves as a reminder, offering me through gentle prompts and cues to listen to the birds, to take notes of the slithering creatures, to feast my eyes upon the delicate multicolored petals of budding flowers lining the forest floor. He reminds me not to traverse the hike or any of my days or any of my experiences on autopilot. He regularly encourages me to center in gratitude for the wonder that surrounds me, for the inherent beauty in my midst. I aim to practice this while sitting with my morning coffee, while listening to music. I offer this as guidance for all of us in each mundane or awe-filled moment of our lives. Gratitude, at its core, is an acknowledgement and small celebration of that which is good. There is goodness all around, if only we take note. The nature I was immersed in is an example of goodness. So is the love of a companion, or those values articulated by a community, perhaps those values of our very own church. Gratitude is identifying where this goodness comes from, acknowledging those things outside of and beyond our individual selves that help us grow, thrive, and pause in moments of joy or introspection. Gratitude focuses on those gifts offered by beloved or strangers or the sacred, those things that guide us towards goodness in our lives. This may be the love of our friends, counsel from our mentors, forgiveness from our sacred, or the profound and healing music offered by a pianist. Gratitude keeps us grounded in the current moment, garnering appreciation, which simultaneously keeps us from taking any goodness for granted. I wonder how many smiles, how many tender touches, how many cries of the blue jays have passed you by. And when goodness and gratitude join together as the focus, animosity, envy, regrets, resentments, judgments, these fall to the wayside, reshaping our thoughts processes. As you sit in those pews, as you raise your voice in song, as you rest your eyes and pause your thoughts in a moment of meditation, as you light a candle to illuminate the pain or joy in your soul, what are you grateful for? What about this church brings you purpose, meaning, and happiness? Which brings us to our third and final spiritual practice, generosity, that which we saw exemplified beautifully in the folktale narrating the creation of stone soup. In that story, we learned how an abundance of humble gifts shared with those we love can create a whole that sustains and nourishes an entire community. Often, generosity stems directly from the practice of gratitude as we seek to feed and nurture that which in turn shapes and molds us. As we proactively sustain all of that which brings us joy and helps craft meaning and build a life of faith. While gratitude encourages us to celebrate goodness, generosity allows us to share in abundance all the goodness that is within our grasp and to give back to that goodness. This practice strengthens our own hearts and brings joy as we live a life of giving and service, simultaneously creating and strengthening well-being in ourselves and in others. Generosity creates a feeling of abundance even if we only have humble means to share. And so, we are centered in those spiritual practices that ripple out in concentric circles, love leading to gratitude, which in turn stems a life of generosity. In our faith, we are each an embodiment of love, and so is the sacred proclaimed by our universalist forebearers. Each of our principles asks us to affirm, promote, and live lives of love. And our church becomes, just as that sacred tree did, a place of dreams and love and memories. And for that I am grateful, and I know you are too. We each love this community, beyond the individuals, loving in a sacred way the values espoused and principles enacted. And we in turn feed this, as the villagers join together to create a nourishing stone soup, offering all we can to that which in turn gives us life. Love, gratitude, and generosity. And how do we feed this? Today, this month, we highlight the monetary needs of our church community. Each space we occupy, each hymn we sing, each small group that elicits hidden thoughts, each worship service that stirs the mind, each book group that elicits questions, all of this is sustained through the generous monetary gifts of our members and friends. Monetary gifts serve to sustain that which gives us so much. In our reflection on stewardship, I invite us to look towards the future. Yes, we are grounded in love and gratitude and generosity today, but what's of the years ahead? What do we envision for Channing Memorial Church? I invite you to reflect on this. May we, now and always, offer goodness, justice, and compassion to each other and to the world, steeped in life-giving spirituality and faith. May we thrive. May we love each other and this community. May we be grateful for each treasure our faith community offers us. And may we, in turn, feed that which gives us so much. May it be so, and amen. Please rise in body or in spirit for our closing hymn, number 402 in the gray hymnal, From You I Receive. May the words of this hour reside in our hearts as we leave our comfort of our community and live our values in the world. With love in our very beings, gratitude on our lips, and generosity offered through our words, actions, and outstretched hands, may we honor and celebrate the goodness all around us. May we live the values inherent in our faith, bring our love to the world, and give back to that which gives us so much. Go in peace, and amen.